Okay, before we get started, we got a few things we need to talk about. There's always something to talk about. Always. We have to acknowledge the passing of two people. Ole Anderson and Virgil. Let's not play around. Ole, I'm not going to lie about it. I never was a big Ole fan. I never was. I knew about the Four Horsemen. Look, I like Rick. There ain't no way you don't like Rick. I like Telly Blanchard. Yeah, I did. Thought it was like that. And I like Art. But Ole was never my favorite. He never was. He wasn't. I knew he was there. He wrestled well, but he was never my favorite wrestler. But knowing that he's passed is not a nice thing to know. You don't want to know someone has to pass. Whether you like them as a wrestler because they were your favorite or as a heel or a face, it doesn't matter. But you don't want to hear someone pass. At least hopefully they didn't have any pain. But the one other than Ole has passed away is Virgil. The $1 Million Man's were pretty much his butler. This one hit me a little hard. I was surprised to hear that Virgil passed on. And I've always loved Virgil. I'm telling you, he's one of the people I loved. And when he turned on the $1 Million Man, that was one of the rare times I was still watching a little bit of wrestling. That made me happy. But he's now passed. And he's got to be acknowledged. I mean, he's got to be acknowledged for a lot of great content that he produced. The $1 Million Man would not be who he is without Virgil by his side. No matter how you feel about it, Virgil made $1 Million Man. He just did. The ensemble of how $1 Million Man with that damn $1 Million belt and Virgil with that belt and then Virgil turning on $1 Million Man. It made sense. So for me, I had to say that. Now not a great show. Not because of the content produced, but how it was produced. How do I explain this? When you looked at No Surrender, I said it very clear. Great show that had terrible production. And I know one of the people who watches said, I don't see anything wrong. You love TNA. I am telling you, as someone who's reviewed this show since 2012, I've seen how production is, and I'm telling you, production is bad. It's bad. No matter how much you love it, it's bad. I'm not saying it because I hate TNA. You know me, the one who leaves a sonnet, an entire book for me to read. Being dyslexic is hard for me, but I still read it anyway. I tell you now, production is bad. When you look at every match here, all 5 of them, there was either back shots, a lot, bad camera angles, that should be easy for anyone who understands how filming in WWE and AEW do it, and even NWA. It's bad. And at this point, you're going to say, well, they got to switch up production. I know. The question is, how much production are they going to switch? I don't know. I'm still saying it. It's bad production. But what do we get here? Some interesting things. Not great because we still don't know if one of the people who commented early, I think day before yesterday, they said clearly that now the recordings of Scott are finished. And now this is what they're doing from now on. If it's still like this, they got a major problem. They will still look Bush League. So let's open with Speedball, Mike Bailey versus Macklin. Now, when you could watch the match, understand, there was very bad camera angles or bad switching from one camera to another. So it's going to be difficult for you to watch. You can watch it. Speedball did pretty well. Now, they were going by the premise of Speedball getting injured the last time at No Surrender because of the tag match. That was at the kickoff show, I believe, yeah. When he was with Trent Seven. So they tried to play off of it a little bit, but he didn't really sell it that much. He was showing that he could do it. Oh, goes the bag hitting the floor. Let me give it to you like this. The thing I liked the most is when they were outside the ring, when the match was going on, and they just started hitting each other, slapping the crap out of each other. That's all they wanted to do. They wanted to rip each other's chests open. That was good to see. a lot of time when you look at Speedball Mike Bailey, he's a very fast, high-flying wrestler. Yes, he does throw some looks of martial arts into his routine, but still, that's not what he normally does. He doesn't just become incredibly physical. In this situation, him and Macklin were just trying to beat the crap out of each other. And I like that because when you're willing to slow down and not go from one move to another, and use psychology, yes, it's about pounding each other, but you are staying still. You are trying to see who can take the most punishment. That is the way it looked. And that is a good thing to show the fans that they can do it in New Orleans. Because that's where they were. They were in the speakeasy. I've never been there. Wonder if they have nice ladies there. Any nice ladies from New Orleans? Hi. But when you see it, I believe this will be one of the parts of the match that is somewhat clear because the cameraman, which I don't understand. He is literally standing to the side of them and you're getting the back of either Macklin or Bailey. He does not move his position to step back onto the ramp so we can see exactly what's going on. No, he does not. He stays exactly where he is. And if anybody says that's not a problem, then you like watching people's backs all the time? Because you don't get that in WWE. Very rarely. You don't get that in AEW. Very rarely. But here you get it in TNA all the time. You're willing to just play it off? I don't. That's garbage. You have to have a cameraman that's willing to change their position to show what the wrestlers are doing. Hell. No, I'll wait until I get to that spot. Let's move on. Macklin won. There was no way he wasn't going to win. Macklin was going to win. Now, let's move on to Laredo Kid versus Jake something. Now, this is supposed to be about what happened with Mustafa Ali. I know Mustafa Ali. He likes to be called Mustafa. I like Mustafa. Mustafa. No, Mustafa. That sounds better. That's who he should be. Mustafa Ali. I am Mustafa Ali. I am the king. I am the now president. But this is supposed to be for the X Division, and they're saying that he really should notice what's going on with this match. Now, it was a bit difficult to watch because I could not see all of it. There was a lot of camera switching, and due to the fact that the cameramen stayed in their own positions where both of them are lined up correctly at each other instead of one being here. See it like this. You got one person, here's the ring. Cameraman here on one side and the other side. This is it. Very rarely did he ever move. Very rarely he did any move. And due to the fact that neither one wanted to move much, you really got a lot of the content cut off. So most of what moves you saw from Laredo Kid, who's a good luchador. He is a good luchador. And I've always stated that all these years, why haven't they given him the title? Why would they not give him the X Division? Because he's such a good wrestler. Why? Because he can't talk English? Pentagon Jr., he doesn't talk English very well. And they gave him subtitles in TNA. Well, Impact Wrestling. So what's the problem? Why won't you let him have his shot? I really do believe Laredo Kid should already have been a X Division champion at this point. And they refuse to do it. I don't know why. You guys tell me below why you think they're doing it. But when you see the match, and due to the fact that it was switching the way it was very sloppy. That's what we got for the entire show. You couldn't see how impactful Jake something was to destroy the Laredo Kid. He wants to prove a point that he's going after Mustafa Ali. But there you go. Next, let's talk about what happened to Frankie Kazarian. He was stopped from coming in. Gia Miller came to him and said he's been suspended until further notice. He's not allowed to come back. And Kaz says this. You go and tell Santino Marella because he's the one who made the decision. But think about it. Because this is on his head now. Pretty much that's what he was saying. I still say this. Mean it. He's joining the Simpsons. It's going to be a bit of a stretch for me if there's not going to be some type of controversy between Eddie and Frank Kazarian before he joins. There has to be. If Frankie Kazarian just joins the system outright, that's a mistake. Because then all the content from last year that him and Eddie Edwards did, being Killer Kowalski guys, will be for nothing. Because they got to make it look right. They need to make it look like, yes, Frankie has turned. And he's now the king of TNA. But he is not stupid, even though he doesn't like Eddie at first. He needs to be convinced. That's what needs to be done. Frankie needs to be convinced to trust the system. Just like they keep saying, trust the system. He has to go through stages before he does trust it. If they make him just join outright, then this was stupid booking, and I don't care who made it. I don't care if it's Gail. I don't care if it's Tommy. I don't care if it's Ace Steel. I don't care who the fuck comes in. If they let him just join immediately, it was stupid, and I'll call it out. Let's move on. Josh Alexander wanting to explain what's going to happen between him and Hammerstone. He's now part of TNA. I said it. I knew it. He is a loss for MLW, but a possible gain for TNA, depending on how they book him. I want to make this clear. I'm glad Hammerstone is now part of TNA. I don't have a problem with Hammerstone. Whenever I saw MLW, I thought that he was something special, like Jacob Fatu. But when it comes down to it, right now, we still don't know the direction TNA's creative is going to work. Remember, there's no driving force with Scott. Even if he was not great, and I didn't agree with him, there was a direction. There is no more direction. There's going to be multiple voices to make a direction. So that's going to be a major issue. There's going to be an issue. The question is, how are they going to book a Hammerstone? Particularly, how are they going to book a Josh Alexander? And when Dirty Dango comes out with Plagueis, and Alpha Bravo, they're touting Dango's training school for students that are under a year or a year. We will let you in. You got to pay us first. You got to do either PayPal. And what was the one? There was like not Snapchat. I can't remember which type of different types of currency you can do. It wasn't just cryptocurrency. There were several others. I do know about them, but I'm forgetting about them right now. Card Cash, PayPal, doing Amazon, doing whatever you want. And that pisses off. It does. I wouldn't be any different than Josh getting pissed off. So he makes it very clear, me and you, we need to have a match. Let's have a match. So now he's going to go over to Santino and try and make a match. Oh boy. Let me get this straight. You're going to have a match with Dirty Dango. Does that mean Hammerstone is going to come out and save him? I'm wondering. Hammerstone is signed to TNA. So will he come out and save him? And they work as a tag team for a little bit. Because I don't think Plagiarist and Alpha Bravo are not going to interfere. They will. This is just me. You guys, something below. Next. Let me give it to you like this. When it comes to the inauguration of Mustafa Ali, I enjoyed it. Was it corny? Yes. Ali we trust. And everyone, understand this. This is where the problem's going to come in for a moment. Because you got Chris Sabin, who is a face, dealing with Mustafa Ali, who is generally, he's a heel. Of course he's a heel. But the key is that he's being cheered so heavily. They switch sides. They know he's a heel, but they want to cheer him because they know how good he is, which automatically is going to confuse people who've never seen TNA, and they're going to see him as a face. They're going to see him as a good guy, and they're going to have to understand, because of his history with WWE, and that's the new fans, possibly casual, they have to understand the reason he's being cheered so much, even though he's heelish, is because how badly he was treated by Vince. Remember, at one point, Vince sent him home. I take that back. Vince wanted to do something that was similar to what was going on with Jinder Mahal being Indian and having an attitude. And since Mustafa Ali is Muslim, he wanted to do something in a Muslim way that he felt was offensive, which I could understand. And at one point, He stayed home. He said, I'm done. I'm not coming to work. Give me something better. They said, this is what you got. I'm staying home. And that's what they did. And until, oh my gosh. I don't even want to think about that group he was in, that he tried to make it work. You know the group's name. I'm not saying the group's name. That name should not ever be uttered. It was so disgustingly bad. It messed up Michan. It messed up the guy who became Dijak. Everyone who was a part of it looked like shit. And they got fired from it. And then 2 of them became maximum male models. Ugh. Bad. It was bad. But people are going to have to know that type of information because they're not going to understand why this guy is heelish, but he's being cheered heavily. And when Saban came in and is talking about integrity, doing things right, and him cheating, it didn't work. Because he says, you know what? I'm not cheating. I'm doing the right thing. I got a support system. And everyone started cheering. And he said, when you were out there with me, you had nothing. And what happened? He decks him in the face. The good hands fight. His security is outside, not doing anything, going like this. And after that, we get Kevin Knight and Kushida. And pretty much the segment in the back made it really, let me give it to you like this. Did he do well? Yes, he did. And I did like it. This shows you what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a heel. But due to the fact of him being cheered so heavily, the next place is going to be cheered. And the next place is going to be cheered because people love Mustafa Ali. There's just no way around that. Now, we got the match of Joe Henley and, well, oh boy, this is going to be, I got to say this, I'm being honest. AJ Francis' first match sucked whenever he was in it. I was hoping AJ Francis had improved his style when he was working with Diener, Joe Henley, and Rick Swann. I am not a hater. Guys, understand. AJF, I'm not against Francis. I want to make clear. I'm not. But as I've said multiple times, the guy has a look. He can rap. He talks great. He's got charisma coming out of his damn ass. But the thing that was a major issue for many people, including myself, was his ring style. He just was not that good. And I was hoping that he went to Con-Am, the wrestling school for Scott D'Amore. I believe it's Con-Am. And I was hoping he would train and practice and get some new moves. Now, I won't say 100% he did the exact same thing he did when he was in Hit Row. It was a little different. But when I heard Todd, you see him botching Tom's name. When he's supposed to do a flying knee at Rick Swann in the corner, and then he decides he wants to make it so cool and take a little bit of what they were saying, messing with him, that he could not go over the top turn rope, does supposedly a knee, which he did not do a knee, into Rick's face. He just hit him, whacked right into him with his knees, then flipped over the top rope, landed on the floor and said, "What? What now? What?" He just 100% proved everyone right. He thinks doing that type of move, flipping over the top turn rope the way he did and landing on his feet, is going to make him look better. That was a mistake. We wanted to see him get better in the ring, be able to do more holds better, more suplexes better, more maybe clotheslines better. We are not saying you should 100% do over the rope stuff. Look, Angelo Dawkins is a big guy and he knows how to do flips over the rope. He does. Undertaker knew what type of jumps to do over the top turn rope. Others who looked like they could didn't because they played into their strengths. And clearly, AJ Francis doesn't understand that. He wanted to show off and say, "Oh, look, I can do this over the rope. What are you going to say now? What? That shows you fed into what they were doing and you learned nothing. from this moment, unless he only stays within the ring, anytime he does a move like that outside the ring, I would say he looked dumb. Because at this point, and I'm not against the guy, you didn't need to do that. If you're going to do something, then you should have practiced doing a full helo over the damn rope, not just make-believing you're jumping and charging at Rich. Supposedly doing a knee into, and he didn't do a knee, he just slammed into the into that turnbuckle with Rich on the floor, then flips over. Luckily, he didn't hurt himself. That was not necessary. I want to see you do wrestling 101, not trying to be a high flyer when you weren't one before and you messed yourself up. You could have blown out your damn knee, boy. If you saw this, I'd say, look, AJ, look, I'm older than you. I'm 53. I understand you want to prove yourself. I understand you want to make people understand that you're better than what they say. I understand you. Like I said earlier in this video, if you're watching this, you're a great talker. You have a good look. You can rap. You got charisma out of your ass. But you got to understand, work within the frame you're in. You tried to do that helo and almost possibly blown out your knees. You're lucky you're all right. And then doing this? You didn't need to do it, bro. You did not. It was not necessary to look like you're being slamming into the turnbuckle at Rich and then decide you want to flip over and land on your feet. That didn't look any better than when you did it before. Just luckily, then you might have hurt yourself badly. Here, at least you practiced it enough you can do it. But I don't think that was what you needed. You need more fundamentals. Please, as a fan of wrestling and a guy who's doing a fair review of you, please don't do that. Please don't, if you ever see this, please think about it. I'm not your enemy. I'm just telling you, unless you really improved and you can do a full helo outside the rope or or a suicide dive outside and not hurt yourself or anybody else, if you learn how to do that properly and you do it in your routine, I will give the praise you deserve. But if you keep doing stuff like that and it doesn't help you. In the end, Joe Hendley and Rich Swann win. I do not know where they're going to go with AJF yet. Like I said, we still don't know how creative is going to steer. So there's going to be a big question what they're going to do with Diener and AJF and who else they're going to join them. Excuse me. Now, number one contenders match. Zaya Brickstone versus Tasha Steelz. Now, almost forgot. We're being graced. We're having a pleasure. Ash of Elegance will be wrestling again next week. I had to say that because the Iceman said it, and I like the Iceman. I mean, I say this clearly. Iceman was the perfect person to choose for an Ash of Elegance. Now, you're going to probably say, dude, look, why do you keep trying to bring up Ash and trying to actually show some care? She sucks. No. Look at Macklin. What was he doing in WWE? He was nothing but a freaking jobber and they did nothing with him. Look how well he's developed now. He worked hard at it. As I keep telling you, just remember, what didn't work in another promotion could work in this promotion if they're willing to book them correctly. Now, I can't tell you Ash Elegance is acting like Dana Brooke because she's not. I'm not going to tell you that Ash Elegance doesn't look freaking hot. She does. Every man and many women will want to have her. I'm not going to tell you that. And I'm not going to tell you that she cannot wrestle because she can. She can be a middle of the road and sometimes she can go a little bit above. I'm not telling you that she's bad. We have not seen how far she's gone. She's shown us what she did in NXT before she was fired. And that was very brief. Remember, she had a very brief window, maybe a month, maybe two, to start changing herself. And then it was over. Done. And if you did see Busted Open Radio, with her on it, she made it very clear that she wants to prove that she's better than what they were forcing her into. Remember, wrestlers in WWE, they put them into a damn little box. That is the truth. We know this. Every person that's come out of there who has been honest have said they're very stringent, particularly when it came to Vince. Now things are a bit different, but doesn't mean they don't keep them in a box. Understand, They're still scripted, so the box, instead of being like this, it's a little bit like this now. It's bigger. I'm not going to tell you that it's like AEW where you can almost go roughshod, and TNA, which we know they're a little bit in between. They give them a lot more leeway, but they also kind of frame them in a loose box, and particularly now, an extremely loose box, because we do not know where they're going to go with this, but this is where we're at. Final match. 6-man tag. They're doing a lot of 6-men now. The System versus Eric Young and Abe. I didn't like ABC. Nope. Nope, not because of the match. And the camera work was not here good here either. And yes, I almost forgot. I did forget. Actually, I almost forgot. I did forget. I'll go back to this match, but I had to stop. It was about 28, 29 minutes. Guys, I almost forgot. When it came to the match between Xia Brookstone and Tasha Steelz, it was a double DQ. Well, not double count out. My mistake. Not DQ. Count out, which was nice to see. And now it's going to be a triple threat at Sacrifice. Is it bad? Kind of and kind of not. Because when it comes to Brookstone, I got to say this. At least she's going to have two people who worked in TNA for a while working with her in a triple threat that is for the title. I do not expect her to win, but at least she'll be working with two that have been there for quite a while. So I'm fine with that. Now, when it comes to the 6-man tag, ABC was not the issue here. The match was not a problem here. The camera work was not great. You can barely see what was going on in there because the cameramen didn't want to move and the camera angles were bad. And the main cam, hard cam as they call it, was like this most of the time. Trying to zoom in on the faces of the wrestlers to make them feel more dramatic, which, understand, the hand cams, the guys who got these big ass cameras, most of the time they do that. But because of how bad it is, now the hard cam is doing it where it's sloppy. But taking away from all that, the thing I didn't like the most was the music for ABC. They decided either maybe Ace Austin and Chris Bay decided we don't want to use Bullet Club music anymore. Or they didn't have the right to use Bullet Club music anymore. So now they're using something else. It doesn't feel as good as the Bullet Club music. It just doesn't. I don't know why they switched it. Because I think the Bullet Club song and the graphic in the back was better than what they have now. It's just me. That's just me. It's my opinion. Others will probably like it and maybe it'll grow on me. But at this moment, if I compare the music and the graphic compared to Bullet Club music and what they produced for the alternative Bullet Club music, it doesn't compare. It's not as good. So either they couldn't keep the music, or the guys decided to change it, or management decided to change it. Don't know. Just me. And the System won. So the System has another win under the belt. We will be going to Sacrifice, where we're going to see a Eric Young who has supposedly never gone up against Moose. This will be the first time. I don't ever remember them not going up against each other, but I've been watching this so many years, it's hard to remember it all. Look, I have done over 2,300 videos. I can't remember my own freaking lunch, let alone what happened 8 to 10 years ago. It's hard. It's one of the things I do like when people do mention things below that came out maybe 2012, 14, or 16, or if I did something in a video and I said it, but I don't remember it because, like I said, it's not that I have a bad memory. You got to understand, in a week, how many videos do? I do TNA, I'll do SmackDown, unless it's something that's going on like an Impact Plus show, or in this case, TNA show. I would do Dynamite, then I'll do Collision, and counting if there's a pretty much a pay-per-view or premium live event. They actually started saying premium live event in TNA now. Why? Maybe it's because of the streaming deal with Endeavor. Maybe. But pretty much, I do 5 to maybe 7 videos. And if I don't do a Gump report, a week. I can't remember them all. I'm sorry. I may be able to remember I botched. Remember. I might be able to remember maybe the previous video I might do if I'm not working on something else or I'm getting ready to watch something. It can be, it's almost impossible to remember what you produce. So if you think a guy like me is I'm just bird brained, it's not true. Other people got the same problem, but this is just me. Peace. Leave a comment and subscribe. Maybe a like. Tell someone that I do this. I ain't getting paid, but hopefully you'll like it. See ya.